Hello friends, this is Music Man from his man cave, and we're talking about ownership. Who owns you, and who do you want to allow to own you, and who do you want to get rid of before you retire? And this is a decision you make way before you get my age. The younger you are and the smarter you are, and you realize that from the time you were born, you were owned by your parents and you were completely helpless, and they owned you and they had to take care of you and they had to raise you. And some of you are like, my parents didn't raise me. They basically threw a bone on the floor and said, chew on it, boy. But, still, you survived. So here you are. You're a human being. You might be looking at starting college. You might be in high school looking at this. You might be my age. And you still haven't come to the reality of this principle that every one of us is owned by someone. And I'm going to address right now the ones that you want to get rid of. Okay, and then I'll tell you the ones that I want to be owned by. The ones I want to get rid of before I die is I do not want to be owned by whoever holds my mortgage. My Uncle John holds my mortgage, and right now I am his slave. Just like in football when they used to get down, I own your butt, boy. I knew what they meant. That unless I really played a good game of football that night, that cornerback was going to make my life miserable and make it very hard for me to catch the ball all night. And sometimes I beat him and caught the ball and got into the end zone, and sometimes he slapped the ball away or he hit me in the elbows with his helmet and so forth, and it was miserable. But that's, so there's a sports analogy for you. So right now, Uncle John owns me for 2.5 more years. Why? Because he owns my equity. He owns this house still. Until he hands the title over to me, I'm owned. Now once I pay, that's why I say to pay cash for a house or have a substantial down payment, because you don't want to be owned very long by anybody. Because a borrower is slave to the lender. And you want to buy only what you need. And that way, no matter what everybody tells you, they tell you, oh man, you need at least 1,700 square feet. Really? Actually, as you start getting my age, you discover as the kids are going off to college and they're starting to leave and everything, it's going to start shrinking. You're going to need less and less until you're basically in a little, some kind of like little assisted living cottage or something. And then it's going to come to the point where you're going to want to just get rid of stuff and have rummage sales and get less and less and less. And so, bottom line is that, yeah, and you can apply this how you want to your life, but I'm just giving you some food for thought. Now, so you pay off that house. Basically, all you've done is really gotten rid of one landlord. Okay? The other person that you're owned by is you're owned by Uncle Sam. That's what we call him, Uncle Sam. How does he own you? Well, there's some people actually that fall for this. Very intelligent athletes and movie stars that think that they own themselves because they have $20 million in the bank and they decide not to pay their taxes. And then guess what happened? The IRS cometh. And I can tell you there's a lot of Republicans discovered they didn't own themselves when Obama was sticking his fingers into their business. You think that they realized, you know what? Wow, can he do that? Can he target me and assess my taxes and do that and harass me and torment me? Yes, he can. Why? Because Obama works for Uncle Sam, for the system. And so you're owned by, the government. Now, what can you do about that? Well, the more modest you live, the less of a stranglehold they have on you. The more you have, the tighter their grip. It's a really bizarre thing, I'm telling you. Real wealth is liquid. Real wealth is in the bank. It's not in things that you own. Like of this house, it's modest, but if I do any modifications to it, guess what? They drive in front of my house and they raise my taxes. I pay $1,500 a year to live in a modest home. Now, how long do you think if every 6 months I don't pay my $1,500, or actually every year I don't pay my $1,500, how long do you think I can live in this house before I discover who really owns this property and who really owns this house? You'd be surprised. They may let me live here maybe 6 months. But you're going to take this house from me and they're going to kick me out of this house. But you say, hey, what if you rent? Then they don't own me. Yes, they do. They just have an in-between guy. Your landlord, in a way, works for the government. He pays the taxes and things for you. You pay that in rent. So you always have two landlords. At least when you buy a house, you can eventually get rid of one landlord, which is nice. But you're owned. And so you need those are your goals. Get rid of that mortgage. Okay? Let's talk about cars. People want the shiny. Okay? Guess what? Even when you pay the car off, you still don't own it. Unless you're different than me, I have to drive up to the courthouse and I have to pay every year licensing fees with some bizarre things on there. And my cars are very modest and they're old. My cars are 10 to 15 years old. So why am I still paying for a car that's that old? You can put permanent tags on them, but you have to pay 3 times the price. And I'm actually looking at that. That is an option. That way you do truly own the car if you put permanent tags on them. So that's an option there. But you're owned. Anytime you go into debt, the house, the cars, jet skis, boats, anything like that, the tighter the grip. The tighter the grip. So what you want to get is you want to get to the point where you have some space to breathe. That's what it's all about. It's really about freedom. But of course, you're never truly really free. You're kind of like a sandbox video game free. You're free to a certain limit. You know what I mean? Like I just saw The Giver, and I'll give a review on that. You're free to the edge of the cliff. That's your freedom. And within that, you're free. But outside of that, you lose everything. Anyway, let's talk more about this. Now, I'm going to tell you the 3 things that when I retire, that I want to own me. And we're going to talk about coming at you right now.